Boys are popping, rocking and rolling. It's Thursday night football, NFC West edition. The Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. Donnie Rightside, Tom Vecchio, Joe Lisi. 1, 2, and 3, and away we go. Feeling good about tonight's game here. 43.5 is the total. Favorite now for the Seahawks. Tom, we'll get you started first here. How about that line switch over from early in the week? Arizona, no longer the favorite. It's the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm not entirely surprised by that, but I don't mind taking a home team with a couple points, especially on a short week in a divisional matchup. 43.5, I think is super interesting line, just based on 44 being a pretty key number of where things would go. If I had to pick, I would side with the under, but I'm waiting for some in-game opportunities. If it drops too low into the mid-30s, I'll certainly be looking to take a live over. And if it jumps up too high, we get some scoring early, I'll be looking to take a live under if we get to 50-some-odd points.
Joe, everybody and their grandmammy on the Seahawks tonight. How about you, huh?
Yeah, well, they've won, 7 straight in the series, so Sam Darnold and the crew are the best team in the NFC, right? That's it. You just have to beat Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers at home, and all of a sudden you spring to the top of the boards. I actually think Arizona's the better team. I understand they lost last week. I believe more in Kyler at home than I do Darnold, especially on the road. Look at his last 2 performances when it mattered for Minnesota. Didn't step up. I like Arizona, but I'm going, secondary wide receivers. I'm on Dortch to score an anytime touchdown at 6-1. I'm on Michael Wilson to get over. I altered his total 36.5, so we'll see if we can get it tonight.
Now let's take a look at the total in this game, 43.5, Tom Vecchio. How are we feeling about that? Short work week here, Thursday night football, division rival. We seeing points tonight? What do we got?
I think we see some. Again, 24-20. I think we're spot on with that. Yeah. We get a couple touchdowns here or there. I'm interested to see how the Cardinals respond on offense after James Conner, is out for the rest of the season, and how they are for, the entire game. Obviously, I think Trey Benson is a solid option overall. I don't love him tonight, but I would side with the under if I had to. Again, 23-20, 24-21, somewhere around there. If it goes over, I don't think it's going to be flying over by any capacity.
All right, how about this? Modern says, look at this, Joe. Look at this comment out here. Joe, Arizona secondary suspect, Joe. Suspect. Yeah. No
okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree with that. But they put up a ton of yards, Carolina did, after they were down big. I mean, here's the thing. Yeah. Do you believe in Seattle's passing attack outside of JSN? If you do, then take Darnold over his passing yards. I personally think Arizona's defense is revamped. I don't know if Seattle, and the last time that they played last year, it was a Zach Charbonnet show, rushed for over 100 yards in that matchup. They won 30-18. I really like the front seven of Arizona. I think they can pressure Darnold. I think they force him into predictable third downs, and that's the game. Total, I don't have a great feel. Might jump into it if we get into the high 30s after maybe scoreless 5 or 6 minutes, but I really like Arizona, and I like Kyler and the passing attack tonight.
Yeah, fun stuff on this game, too, tonight, because I do think it's close. I don't love a certain angle, but I played a few here on this show. And how about this one? You'll like this. Charbonnet comes back into the lineup tonight, right? Misses the game last week. They say he's fine during this practice week, and I do think there's going to be like a split backfield. I boosted him, Joe, to 50-plus yards on the ground tonight, then used a 50% boost on FanDuel to get it to plus 210 at this point. Just trying to take like an alternate shot, saying, you know what? If he gets 10 carries, which I think is like 11.5 or 12.5 is his number tonight, I'm getting the 50 yards.
I mean, that's a great look. I mean, if Seattle's going to win the game, I think they're gonna have to wear down the front seven. I don't think Darnold's going to throw for 275 or 3, even though, Bryce Young had success. Again, it was in garbage time, come from behind type of situation. If they're going to dictate tempo, it's going to be on the rushing attack. So again, last time they played in Arizona, that offensive line got after it. I'm just buying into the front seven, but Charbonnet's a great look if he gets 10 or 12 carries tonight.
Tommy, what are we thinking about that backfield here for the Seahawks?
I think it's going to be split tonight. It's a short week. Charbonnet is coming off of, theoretically, he's coming off of extra rest, even though he was dealing with an injury and didn't play last week. So it is nice to know that you do have 2 viable options between Walker and Charbonnet. I would say it's split. I think it's like 60-40 in favor of Walker. So getting extra carries from Charbonnet is never a bad thing.
How are we looking at the quarterback position tonight, guys? Like, how are we playing, Tom? I'll keep with you first here. We're going Kyler's side. We're going Darnold's side. What are we looking at from a quarterback shot?
If I had to, I would pick Kyler just because I think the options around him are very solid with, Trey McBride's awesome and Marvin Harrison, although he's been off to a little bit of a slow start. I think if Seattle wins, I'm not sure if they need to pass, but I think they will get some ground game going. And like Joe said, like Sam Darnold probably doesn't throw for 270. Like I think he can have like an efficient 220-ish. They have some work on the ground, but it's not going to be an overwhelming game from the Seattle passing side of things. With Trey Benson stepping into the rushing role for the Cardinals, it's a really tough matchup for him. So I expect the Cardinals to move the ball through the air.
How about that, Tommy? Or excuse me, Joe. What do you think about quarterback position? Like, I actually like Kyler Murray. He's been on the move this weekend. That 26.5, 27.5, 28.5, now 29.5 rushing yards. I think he gets to that 30 marker tonight. I do.
Yeah, well, again, he's going to try and take the game over. So if it's close and we're in the fourth quarter, he showed that against Carolina, busted a big run. The problem with him at times, and you saw it against Carolina, red zone turnovers. When he's pressured and he's outside the pocket throwing against his body, that's where Kyler Murray struggles. If he rolls out to his right side, he's very effective. So, again, what's the game plan going to be? 5.5 attempts is his number tonight, right? So I think it's a pretty good look. He's going to try and take the game over, and I still believe in Arizona. I said it at the start of the year. I picked them to win the West. I'm not backing down now.
Tom, we look at, by the way, the Arizona running back position now because, like, DeMercado's like a backup, but now it looks like Trey Benson full go. I actually like, Tom, his receiving yards over his rushing yards tonight. How are you playing him?
So I tweeted about the other day, Benson under 60.5 rushing yards, and that number has dropped down to 54 in some places. Seattle's super solid on defense. And, through 3 weeks, they are third best in the league when it comes to EPA per rush allowed. They're in top 10 in the league when it comes to fewest rushing yards per game and rushing defensive success rate. So I would play Benson receiving yards, and it's 19, 20, 21, wherever it is. I think he has to work in the receiving game tonight. And he goes for 50 on the ground and 30, 35, 40 in the air.
It's a good look. 20.5 is his number.
I like him over Joe. Like I actually think because if you're looking at like Connor still was effective out of the backfield. Now if it's just really one guy who gets the extra maybe third down snaps or second down snaps and Kyler Murray's running around, I do think I like his catches and his yards over there to chance. What do you think, Joe, about Benson or some other running back options here to take a look at? Maybe from are you looking at DeMercado? Or do we even have statistics out here on that guy?
Yeah, I mean, DeMercado has a propensity to score at times. So, again, red zone opportunities, especially if Benson's getting a bulk of the carries and he's spelled and they get down by the goal line, he's a bigger back than Trey Benson. So anytime touchdown's not a bad look. Maybe we take a look, Donnie and Tom, Charbonnet and Benson receiving yards, and a parlay might not be a bad look.
That's fine. They both get involved.
Yeah.
I do believe in Charbonnet as a talent, and what are we looking at? It's only 6.5 for his receiving yards, so that's it's pretty light.
By the way, if we are looking at touchdown markets, like that Dolphins game where it's like, all right, how are we going to do that last Thursday? I took 2 wide receivers, and they both hit for the Miami Dolphins, but I actually did the same thing with the backfield. And also, PSA out there for people. Don't just stick with one book. Like, go around. Like, just for me, opening my options tonight, it's like, hey, look at FanDuel right now. Kenneth Walker, minus 105. I go over there to Hard Rock. He's a plus 130 to plus 135 over the past hour. Huge difference there. I look at Zach Charbonnet, a plus 200 price. He's a plus 180 at FanDuel. Like, just have a 5, 6 books. Like, I live in New Jersey, which is fantastic for that. But just those two options where it's like, I don't want to take Walker at minus 105, a plus 130 and a plus 200. I took a shot on both of those because, again, Tom, just give me one of those and it's plus money. Give me them both like I got. What a night.
Yeah, and listen, if you expect Seattle to win, just looking at FanDuel, like you said, Walker's minus 105, JSN's plus 155, Charbonnet is plus 180, then it's Cooper Kupp at 310 and Torrey Gordon at 380. If you think they win and they score multiple touchdowns, it's not going to be just Kenneth Walker scoring 4 touchdowns for them. So you might as well just take a shot on 2 guys that are plus money. And as long as one of them comes through, as we always say, positive at least on that.
Come on, Joe. Touchdown, baby. Touchdown.
I just put this in. I took with the 50% profit boost.
There you go. No, come on. We got you.
So I'm big on Wilson, 25 plus receiving yards. Charbonnet for 5 receiving yards. Walker for 10 receiving yards. Benson for 15 with a profit boost is 10-17. So check down, and one long play for Wilson. Yeah. That's all you need to get into, obviously, pay dirt. So I'm going to leave you with that. I like Arizona for the game. And again, we'll talk. I'll tweet it out. But I like Arizona. Like Kyler over his passing. I do like Wilson. Do like Dortch anytime touchdown, guys.
I like it. Now, Joe's a little washed out with his lighting there, so please forgive him on this podcast here tonight. So there he goes. He's out of here at that point. Me and Tommy will take it away at this point. If we are looking, Tom, at pass catchers in this game, Jackson Smith and Jigba, I love them. But so does everybody, right? 84.5 tonight. Trey McBride, I love him. He's now up to 64.5. Marvin Harrison Jr., which still waiting for him to really see that surgence here in this early season. Cooper Kupp, Torrey Horton, Michael Wilson, Kenneth Walker out of the backfield. Where are you looking here in pass catchers?
Torrey Horton is a player that has, taken some he's grabbed a hold, at least in the fantasy community, where like people are very high on him. And generally that comes a lot from coach speak, where they're like, oh, we want to get this guy more involved. He obviously scored, earlier in the year. So seeing him at only 25.5 is interesting. I think that's the spot that I would go. I wouldn't particularly be going to Cooper Kupp. When it comes to Marv Harrison, 48.5, I think, is a fine line, but just the way he's utilized in terms of air yards and ADOT, his average depth of target, 20.5 for his longest reception. When they target him, it is very often downfield. So if he goes over 48.5, he's also probably going over 20.5 for his longest reception. 25, 30 yards from him is what he should be doing. That's the role he should be playing.
If we are looking to like the touchdown market, just to get back to it, and it sort of rolls into my wide receiver prop, but my touchdown jackpot entry tonight, Tom, on FanDuel plus 320 was Cooper Kupp. I don't love it, but understand if you take some of the guys up top, you're talking about, okay, $5, $10. Yeah, you won your $5 back, but you're really trying to slide it down the list so you have a decent look and not taking I'm going to take a guy that takes 2 snaps a game and he's going to score a touchdown. I went Cooper Kupp plus 320 tonight. Did you go ahead and put anybody in on that touchdown jackpot tonight?
I did. And as I've always said, listen, if Walker scores and you chop it, you're going to get a $12 bonus bet, 15. Listen, it's a $15 bonus bet is better than no bonus bet. We all agree with that. Yeah. Walker, Benson, JSN, McBride, that's clear the chalk. Then Charbonnet, Harrison, Cooper Kupp. Yeah. I went to 10-1. Oof. Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah.
He was at 1060. He's down to 10-1. Elijah Arroyo.
Yep.
The tight end, second round pick. Oddly enough, he is tied for the Seattle team lead with 2 red zone targets with JSN this year. Now, Seattle scored a lot. Those some of them haven't come in the red zone, at least the passing touchdowns. But it's JSN and Elijah Arroyo both tied with 2 red zone targets this year. Yeah. He's 6'5". Arizona's in the bottom 8 of the league for the most receiving yards allowed to opposing tight ends. If he hits and you get the bonus on it, it's either first or last. That is a massive payout. So I have him for the touchdown, and it's $5 to win 50. But man, if that's the first or last touchdown, it's a Thursday night. Weird tight end score on Thursday night games. Yep. That's gonna be a big one.
By the way, looking at the quarterback position tonight too, Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold, 220.5 now for Kyler Murray, dipped a little bit throughout the day. Sam Darnold is a 228.5 price point. Usually that's sort of where I start the game and say, okay, do I think each one of these guys can get 2 touchdown passes? They're both really good plus money options. But Tom, if I have this game right around that 43.5 and I like it under, I just couldn't find my way to the path. Now, if I take a look at Bet365 right now, some other options like those, main props, which are both the teams combined. I looked at the rushing touchdowns over 1.5, but it's pricey at minus 200. Like if there was no price and you said, which way would you like to go? I do think we get 2 rushing touchdowns, but that's why, Tom, I went Seattle Seahawks running backs at plus money to say, look, if I'm going to get 2 rushing touchdowns, one of them is coming from Seattle. Why not just take the plus money? But I do think they're eat on the ground. I just couldn't come away with a real definitive look at either one of these quarterbacks to throw to.
Yeah, and Sam Darnold's game log is a bit, I don't want to say confusing, but week 1, he wasn't good. And it was a super close game. It's a divisional matchup against the 49ers. You could say this, that, the other thing. Then last week, they absolutely torched the Saints. So he only throws it 18 times. They do 14 of 18, something like that for his box score. So it's like, oh, he doesn't have the volume. It's, well, last week's we can't take that, as written in stone. We have to take them with a grain of salt just because of where they were. Yeah. If you told me, again, Sam Darnold threw for 210 and they still win the game, I'm not going to be surprised. If Kyler goes over because it's a garbage time situation and they just get there based on volume and attrition, even though the Seattle defense is very good, I'm not going to be shocked by that either. But it's one of those situations, like, I don't have a strong take either way, so I'm just not going to either one of them.
Yeah, me too. Because, again, sometimes you see the score last week, but a lot of stuff is thrown out of whack. Like, okay, who's going to get target share? Like, they didn't even throw the football really in the second half in that game against the Saints. So it sort of holds it down. But also, looking at that Arizona footprint right now, the defense has been decent to start the season overall. And you take a look at Seattle, they didn't give up a lot of points against San Francisco. They didn't give up a lot of points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They didn't give up a lot of points against New Orleans. So I look at this and say, I'm trying to edge over on what you would like, but hey, plus money. Like, if you said right now, like, one of these quarterbacks is going to throw 2 touchdowns, I say, okay, it makes sense. But I don't know who that's going to be. That's why I just settled on, if I have a good defensive structure for Seattle, Kyler Murray knows James Conner isn't there. I got to put more on my plate. It's a Thursday night football game. We're home. I got to make sure we win this game. It's going to be close. That's how I played it out. I just can't get a grip on who's going to show up dominance here in those statistics. I just can't get it.
Ultimately, I would take, if I had to pick between quarterbacks, one of them to throw to, I think I would take Kyler. And it's based on the fact that, as I said, Seattle is a very good run defense. So if they do move it down the field and they tighten up in the red zone, you still have Trey McBride, you still have Marv Harrison, you can throw in Wilson, Dortch, whatever it might be, even Trey Benson out of the backfield. I'd be more confident in saying Trey Benson has a receiving touchdown tonight rather than a rushing touchdown. So if I was forced to decide, Kyler over 1.5 is plus 136. It's not that bad of a price.
Yeah, not too bad. Just looking at some of these fun options on FanDuel at this point. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Trey McBride each to get 5 receiving yards in each quarter, Tom, is a 7-to-1 price. Like, that sticks out a little bit.
I actually do like some of these, and more often than not, if you have a team that is relatively dominant, listen, Kenneth Walker had 5+ rushing yards in each quarter.
Yep.
If this was at home and they were 6-7 point favorites against any team, not just Arizona, I don't think they'd be that heavy. But if you're expecting them to be ahead, he's the dominant back. There's no reason he shouldn't be getting to at least 5 in each quarter. And obviously, it's largely game script dependent. But to see the 2 main receiving options, McBride and JSN, be involved early and often, I would love to bank on that. It really comes down to the price. Is this Trey McBride and to each have, what do you have priced at that? Because I see it as $250.
Trey McBride for what? What were we asking?
What you said for each quarter is 5+ in
5 receiving yards in each quarter, 7-to-1 price.
7-to-1 price.
Yes, Smith and Jigba and Trey McBride.
It's not the worst long shot if you're looking to root something in the whole game.
10, if you want to level up there, it's 25-to-1 at that point here.
I would almost, do they have a half one? I would almost rather say just first halves, like in each half rather than each quarter, just because it gives you a little more wiggle room.
Yeah.
Rather, obviously, you're not going to get as good odds. Mm-hmm. So JSN and Trey McBride have 25 in each half. It's plus 330. So the odds are not nearly as good, but you do have the wiggle room of the entire half rather than specifically each quarter.
I take a look at that. Like, one I do think makes some sense. And again, sometimes these are tough. You have to thread the needle a bit. Each team to have 1 rushing touchdown and 1 passing touchdown in the game. It feels like 1 touchdown for each quarterback, 1 rushing on the ground for each one of these teams, and it doesn't load up at this point. You'd feel even more confident if James Conner was in there because dude would be bulldozing in from like the 2-yard line at that point here. But some of those are fun. The 1-and-1 is only a 2-to-1. I'd like to see that be a little bit higher, but just the way it is here. High numbers. Each team that scored rushing touchdown and passing touchdown in each half. 125-to-1. So get at it.
I mean, honestly, when you're expecting that, you'd just be expecting the over. You just be expecting the over to hit naturally. So you should just be taking the no, it's not saying that you shouldn't look at that if you want to have some extra action, but over 43.5 would be kind of cruising in if you expect them to score that many touchdowns. Both of them.
Let's take a look at some of these options again. Arizona plus 1.5 tonight going up against the Seattle Seahawks. 43.5 as the total in this one. Contrarian me, Tom, would go Arizona, but I don't like it because I do think Seattle is the better overall team. Just tough to play on a Thursday night. Like, put it this way, Tom. This spread was the same on Sunday. I'd love the Seahawks tonight. I really would.
I would say the same thing. Short week. I'm inclined to take the Cardinals. I have the Cardinals in our pick'em pool. So I am on them. I'm not literally backing them. But again, when it comes to the total's far more interesting. If it starts off real slow because it's a Thursday night, we have punt to start the game. If this drops into the mid 30s, taking a live over at 37, 36, I think is very, very, very sharp to look at But also, if it starts off with way too much scoring, we see this live number jump up to 52, we see touchdown to start, whatever it might be, I'll be looking to take a live under. I don't think that's going to be sustainable. They may come out strong, but I think that'll wear off as the game goes on. It's a divisional matchup. They don't want to turn this into a track meet.
Yeah, we'll go over those bets again that we have tonight. For me, just for fun, Zach Charbonnet over 50 yards on the ground, plus 210 price. Use the boost on that. Cooper Kupp, my touchdown jackpot entry. I don't love Cooper Kupp tonight. It's not my favorite pick because, as you know, I'm going running back here with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, plus 130 and a plus 200 price. At that point, I also like the over in the yards for running back Trey Benson, and then also Kyler Murray's rushing yards to the over there. What do you have again, Tom, tonight on this game?
Trey Benson under 60.5 rushing yards, and a lot of people are super high on him, and I think he will be a really, really solid option as the season goes on, and really for the majority of the season, especially rushing, receiving combined. But tonight, it's a really tough matchup. So to see, as I tweeted out yesterday, as I tweeted out earlier, the fact that I have it at under 60 and it's dropped all the way to 54, it's great to be ahead of the market. Obviously, I'm not saying that that was a guaranteed winner at this point, but if you are ahead of the market over the course of 100 or 500 bets, you will always be in a good spot. Today could lose, tomorrow could lose, whatever it might be. But Seattle's third best in the league when it comes to EPA per rush allowed. They are super strong against the run. Like I said, he's actually in a really strong spot in the receiving game. So to see him have 20, 25, 30 yards on 3-4 catches, I think is very real possibility. And again, the volume will be there because they are going to run it. But him going for 40 or 50 yards on the ground and 40 or 50 in the air, totally realistic. And then Elijah Arroyo again for my TD jackpot at 10-1. Second, tied with Jason for 2 red zone targets on the Seahawks. They're tied for the team lead.
Yeah, really interesting. Just an interesting game overall. 43.5 line is 1.5. Let me ask you this quick question before we get out of here, Tom. The futures market here for the NFC West at this point now. It's going to change, obviously, tonight because these are 2 divisional teams, and one team's going to get a leg up on the other one that are playing. But I'm out on the 49ers. I'm out, and I think we have good value on the other 3 teams.
I do think so as well. The only thing if I was making a case for the 49ers, it would be based on the fact that, in theory, they should be getting healthier as the season. We got some negative news surrounding Brandon Ayuk today. Yeah. And Purdy is on his way back. Kittle will be on his way back. We know that Bosa is done for the year, but they should be getting healthier as the season goes on. There's some negative reports about Devontae Adams missing practice again with the hamstring issue for the Rams. So I would back the Rams, but if you are looking to take a longer shot, it's got to be Seattle or the Cardinals. I would never play the 49ers at plus 110.
Yeah, should be a fun one here as we watch it out. Thursday night football, 30 minutes to a kickoff, and we're down to the count of your boy DRS and Tom Vecchio here. Always a lot of fun. Tom, I believe you're out on Sunday, so I think I might be doing a solo show on Sunday morning. You are hosting with in studio with our guy Joe. So there you go. Lisi and Vecchio in studio there over on the Sports Grid Network. Certainly have some fun with that, watching it all the way through. But let's cash in some of these tickets, Tommy. Let's have some fun, guys out there watching. Thanks for tuning in. We do it, man. Prime time access. We'll continue to do it and have some fun.